Hey, remember when I said this? One with quite a bright 2023 ahead as he looked to consolidate and show how the new guard of Australia's top level is approaching very quickly. Yeah, well, the time is now for the new guard. This past weekend at BAM 13 saw Australia's finest descend on Melbourne for a second time this year as 207 attendees fought tooth and nail for their chance at the crown at Australia's biggest Smash Ultimate event of the year. In between our last two Victorian events, a lot has happened. Minecraft Steve is banned. Australia has had the spotlight on them overseas, and now every state has had 2 full seasons in 2023 to polish their craft. Time to show off the event where Australia entered its new era, as the names which define this event were those preparing to step up and become the next generation of Australia's top level. If your eyes were elsewhere watching Japan, North America, and Europe strut their stuff at B and C tier events, or just taking a break while the big majors take a rest, let me be your guide to Australia's showstopper of a major. This is Battle Arena Melbourne 13.
Oh, the spike! RaZe, here comes Limit. This is dangerous. Air dodge. The backhand! Dura did it! He's your BAM 13 champion, Dura!
Of course, we start from the top. Dura had this coming. I saw it coming with the way I've discussed his form in recaps and other Oz-centric vids, and I'm pretty sure others did too. The Cloud had a phenomenal weekend with set wins on Shani Puza, Aiden, Scobo, Turnup, and Sebpro 101 with just one game dropped before top 8. Top 8 was the true test for the second seed, with a 3-1 tussle with fellow young talent Kanaji, before holding back a reverse 3-0 from RaZe in winners finals, and then collecting a reverse 3-0 himself in grand finals on RaZe in what could only be described as a heart-stopping grand finals. Dura was not only the champion of the tournament, but the true core to making such an entertaining top 8. He was on song, and even when pushed to his limits, nothing would stop him from getting the win. The Cloud would add to the group of 5 to win in front of the home crowd post-quarantine, and just be the second time post-quarantine that an Oz major was crowned without a set dropped. Dura was tested, but this was his day. From the humble beginnings 4 years ago, to Wi-Fi grinding as Toonling fiend Bacino, to one of Vic's quickest growing talents, to a true pillar of current Oz Smash. This was an overdue victory for Dura. This was his moment. This was his time.
Deep. RaZe seals it out.
Wow,
3-1
dies for it
against
as well.
Jix.
Oh my gosh.
We have a RaZe Dura Grand Finals at BAM 13.
Oh.
Can you bloody believe it?
BAM's runner-up was someone playing some of the best Smash of his life, and if not for Dura, this was easily the best player at the event. RaZe turned on the Jets at BAM 13. He blitzed through match and Mike Cool in pools, plus a 3-0 win on Kanga to start day 2 before he would begin to rock the boat of bracket. He would upset top 8 seed Fried Rice in winners round 2 for an upset factor 1 victory and set up a top 8 qualifier with old rival Jade Izzle. This would be a test RaZe passed with flying colours, winning 3-0 and getting a tournament high upset factor 6 win to book a trip in winners side top 8. There in top 8, he would have 4 sets against 2 players. Wins over Jix in winners semis and losers finals to add 2 upset factor 3 wins and 2 game 5 losses to Dura that he just couldn't close. This event was phenomenal for the 9th seed. A plus 5 SPR, total upset factor of 13, and the Pit and Link both operating at maximum capacity. Really, there was never going to be any other grand finalists than the 2 players playing at their best, with RaZe being the runner-up, but no one would have called his play any worse than stellar.
The Fortress, mate. Fort Knox! No, I thought they were going to go for the Rising. That's it!
That's got to do it.
Banana up smash to take it out.
Jix breathing a sigh of relief.
If there's one defining trait of this year's BAM compared to last year's, it's the tangible growth of Australian talent. It's not just about the Smash 4 veterans holding up the top level with sprinkles of new faces, like we saw at BAM 12. Third place finisher Jix improved massively from their 13th place finish last year, with wins this time on the likes of Shrix, Didi, and Kanaji, all players who got top 8 last year. Also, a moment that may have established them as the People's Champ in Game 4 against RaZe.
Have they kept it at the ready, you know?
I think so. I think it's been like a pretty active secondary.
Yeah. Yeah.
There we go.
The pick
They've gone for the arm up.
Jix's consistency has shot up since last BAM, with no performances outside top 8 since that BAM, to no performances outside top 4 since Big Cheese 3. This is a staple of the top 5 of Oz now. From top 6 last BAM to a top 4 finish here, Kanaji continues to be an incredible prospect, with this performance including probably one of Australia's most anticipated matchups, Kanaji vs J Dizzle, a set that had never happened before, and the young ACT prodigy was too classy in his Upset Factor 2 win, another name who's grown from part of the fold to a threat to win a major.
He wouldn't. There you go, yeah.
Slam?
Oh! Yeah, they're alright. You're right.
He's sleeping.
Sheesh! Look at him.
While 6 of the 8 found in top 8 were Victorian, including the winner, sometimes the home region doesn't always hold their end up in top cut, but this time, Victoria not only held their end up, but stood tall to put together some ripper performances. Let's begin with P9. The Villager would get to 13th place as 32nd seed for a +2 SPR. His victory over the weapon, Kurtz, in pools would not only shut down the loud and proud Perth crowd, but show the Villager's calm head in 10 sets. Set wins on Nop, Zach, and an Upset Factor 2 win on Turn Up would show why this guy has got the guts to go the distance. The Zach win arguably being the most impressive of the bunch, being a reverse 3-0 and the first set win on the Pac-Kaz co-main across their 4 encounters. Moving down to 17th place, we have Scobo. Victoria's young Rob far eclipsed his 97th placing at BAM 12, with an Upset Factor 1 win on Flow in pools, as well as wins on Honk, and an Upset Factor 2 win on Malakoff, who chose to run random at this event. He will be stopped at 17th by Bro1, but this future prospect was too damn good in a +2 SPR performance. Maybe Mast was underseeded. Maybe he just had the dog in him this weekend. Victoria's Content Man had a big weekend on the sticks, with a +2 SPR as 39th seed, which included an Upset Factor 1 win on Queensland Corin's Smazio in pools, as well as a classy Upset Factor 2 win on Jonathan Bomathan, also known as John Bombo, in Losers Round 3. He would also be stopped before top 16 thanks to Fried Rice being in Losers early, but Mast was definitely the Supreme Roy on the weekend. Our final 17th place finisher was a man who had the same level performance at BAM 12, and again, proceeded to rock the boat, this time in Losers, where last time he got the scalp of the event over Ghost. This time, Milkbeam tore up Losers with wins on Chipotle and Duon for a combined Upset Factor of 4, with additional wins on Crozzy, Piccolo Skooks, Tedjum, Failer, and Robber. The Cloud Dock player was a menace with an astonishing +4 SPR as 72nd seed to show why he'll never sit down and take the seed he's given. The final 2 to discuss are the +3 SPR players found in top 64. First is Deku Meister. While she isn't seen playing the game too much anymore, Deku turned up with a run to 25th place as 77th seed, which included an Upset Factor 3 win on Corvid to make top 32, and an Upset Factor 1 win on Kajek in pools to set up the run for the Puff. Nob was also part of this group, as the K-Rule main was a menace in Losers, beating both Orca Schmorka and Slim Boy to escape pools on Losers' side, with a combined Upset Factor of 3 for the 108th seed. The run wouldn't stop there, as he'd rattled Losers top 64 early on Sunday, defeating SA Samus main, Fen Gaming, in a 3-1 fashion for an Upset Factor 3 win. Nop's run would end at 33rd at the hands of P9, but regardless, all this pointed to one thing. You come to Victoria, you've got to deal with the full brunt of Victoria's might. No matter the skill level of the Victorian you're fighting, they're going to be a problem.
Yeah, mate. Not only Raze drive, but
Oh
Raze
no!
itself.
Oh my goodness, Verb stack as well. I thought that was going to be attack
That's
chase
it,
on the platform.
that's
Is that it?
That's it. That's
Oh my goodness, and there it is. Just
it. Dude.
straight 2-0 for Honk here.
Dude.
In contrast to recent Oz majors, upsets flowed at BAM 13. This was the 3rd highest total upset factor for post-quarantine majors at a count of 138, behind Phantom 2022's 156, and in front of Big Cheese 3's 136. Pools was where most of the madness happened, with a total upset factor of 93, and 7 upsets with upset factor 3 or higher. We'll start with the upsets coming out of Molly. The Western Australian Snake made his pool quite the hassle to work through, with upsets in winners on Sifo 1 and Atos, and beating Victorian Palu Nerpner to escape pools, Losers' side. This tallied for a total upset factor of 10, and Molly's 49th place would end up being a +4 SPR for the 197th seed. A drastic improvement for someone who went 0-2 last BAM. Honk was a similar story, The Wi-Fi turned offline Kazuya opened up Wave 2 pools with a clean sweep of IB for an Upset Factor 2 win, then an Upset Factor 3 win on Shitashi. He was here to play. He would also escape pools with an Upset Factor 2 win on Princess, and first set of top 64 would reverse 3-0 Leo MCI to get an Upset Factor 4 win to make his tally all up a total upset factor of 11, and the 33rd place would get him a +4 SPR, a definite danger for Victoria and Oz overall. VT Pooks got the biggest upset of day 1, with an upset factor 5 win on Stack to open up his pool and help contribute to the 110th seed, +2 SPR and 49th place finish. Macabre had a field day in pools, beating both Beat and Jaws for a combined upset factor of 6, and starting day 2 in winner's side. Dogovet and Hoops would combine in their pool to upset Dags. Barney and Beefy did the same to Paris, or Mitchie's upset on Saber, Piccolo Skooks beating Thrillhouse, Merso over Wildan, and Rooster Bugalugs beating Jet, all made early losers side in pools very tricky to navigate. Down in losers, Crozzy, Andre, Atos, and Tin Man all got big upset factor 2 wins to pull them through to day 2. Finally, for day 1, literal last seed Tats 10 managed 2 upsets in losers to dodge 193rd place with an upset factor 1 win on Lime, an upset factor 2 win on Varus to pull Tats to 97th place and a +2 SPR. On to day 2, and losers side top 64 was where most of the madness occurred. Baked Goods getting an upset factor 3 win on Taicho in losers, after Zav sent the Greninja down there in winners round 1 in an upset factor 2 win. Mothcoats would cut off Stack's run at 49th with an upset factor 2 win, winning in a 3-0 fashion. Heaven would continue to have Beat's number with a Game 5 win to move into top 32, as Duwon would work out L in 5 games in the same round. Newt would beat out Jaws in 4 games, and up in winners, Sebpro 101 would impressively beat Extra in a 3-0 scoreline. All of these sets would be upset factor 1. All up, the upsets would show when it comes to BAM, it's always going to be crazy. Now being an event which makes up both first and third place for the most upset riddled events post-quarantine.
Yeah, you have to eat it. And you're at 200. Grenade's going to be doing it. Forward throw kill. What the heck? Settle.
While there are far too many players to give a shout out to, there's still a few left to lift up for some fine runs that went overlooked. Finn was very impressive in losers bracket of top 64. After losing to DMO in winners round 1, the Snake grinded out a 3-1 win over Kutz with a loud Perth crowd at his back, then followed up with 2 Game 5 wins over Heaven and Zav to get the Queenslander into top 16 and a +1 SPR. The run was less about who he beat and more so how he did it in the end. Next we have Meme God. The Aegis main hasn't been to a big event before outside of the Victorian Arcadian in 2022, so this was certainly a change of pace. His run to 33rd place and getting a +2 SPR included an early upset factor 1 win on Tasmanian Falco Sainim, and even pushing Jix to 3 games in pools. He would run through Yuki Draco and Dogovet untouched before Kanga stopped the run was another reminder of the dangers of a Wi-Fi turned offline player. Mike Cool was also impressive in his first Victorian outing. The young Sephiroth beat Lord P and Homer in early pools before RaZe sent him to losers and then cleared Brax to make day 2. Joey was his first task on day 2, and in a tricky matchup for the one-winged angel, Mike cleared the challenge 3-0 and gave Wookins a fair go, losing 3-1 to end at 33rd. A +1 SPR won't always tell the whole story, but Mike really dug in as a New South Wales player to watch out for, with his resilient attitude defining his run. Our final story comes from one of Victoria's lesser known micro scenes. This is Dragon Knight. He's a DK from Bendigo, about 2 hours north of Melbourne. He didn't escape pools, but the +1 SPR tells the story of a player who could really become a special story in Victoria. With his pool, Dags and Skinny Pat falling early meant there were openings for some other players. Dragon Knight took that chance. He beat Hiker early, lost to Kanaji, and then took sets over High D, ACT Mario Lulz, and just couldn't get over Dogovet. Again, a +1 SPR doesn't depict the whole tale, and this is more a developing tale than a bookend. Maybe next major, this guy might be one of the few not coming out of the main beating heart of Victoria who makes his mark. BAM 13 had a lot of little stories to dig through which go past pure numbers, and that's sometimes what the major experience is about. Not just those hoisting the trophy or the big numbers, but the little wins. BAM 13 was a shift in focus for Australia. Those working hard in the past year are now overtaking the pillars of the scene. The question going forward is how this will impact the narrative of Australia in the later half of 2023. Of course, no Ghost, among some other faces known to rattle top and high level, did make some things in the bracket a little different, but all up, it was a pretty spectacular weekend for Australian Smash Ultimate. A big congrats to Dura, and a huge thanks to the TOs of the event and all the staff running this. I was there, and let me tell you, the energy in Grand Finals, Top 8, and everything else was immaculate. But that's a wrap on another Oz Major recap. Our next one will be in August, when we have New South Wales turn with Floating Point. So until next time, see ya, and thanks for watching.